The Lakers defense collapses completely against the Hornets on Thursday. Stop me if you've heard this one before. It got really ugly. Can the Lakers fix it on a giant January road trip? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends, even on holidays. No matter how, where you get your podcasts, this one's always going to be free for you, not behind a paywall. And if you're getting it on Spotify, you're getting it on Apple. Maybe you're, Andy, one of the 37,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel, Locked On Lakers on YouTube. No matter how you're doing it, you're helping make the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in this or any other known universe. I'm Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky, who spent about almost 20 years now covering the Lakers for ESPN, for The Athletic, for the LA Times. And in all of that time, Andy, it's been hard to find a team that seems to struggle as much as this one does defensively on many nights across the NBA. The Lakers lose 135-117 to the Hornets on Thursday night. And my God, Andy, if let's say you thought things were well in hand in the first quarter and you said, I'm going to get to bed early. Man alive, are you surprised by the final score?
I mean, you're giving up at that point after the first quarter, so I would say at that point, shame on you. I mean, this is not exactly
at 13. It's time to go to bed.
This is not exactly a team that you feel like, all right, they're up 9 to end the first. This thing is over. They've got it under control. Like, I honestly, at that point, while I appreciate you being here, you're clearly not here enough because we would have told you, stick around. This might get interesting. I know we're going to talk about the defense rightly in this game because it was bad in every facet. But frankly, this was a game where pretty much all of the Lakers' weaknesses that we've seen over the course of this season were put together in a blender and turned into a really bad drink for the Lakers.
It was a weakness smoothie.
I mean, seriously, the Hornets, if nothing, I mean, they've been playing better of late, but I'll say this, they were very well prepared to play this game because say what you will about whatever things they're still figuring out as a young group, they clearly knew how to go at the Lakers in this game.
Well, it's not complicated. And that's the thing. It's like some nights the Lakers are able to kind of withstand it. And more often they've lost 8 now of their last 13. They have not been able to withstand it, but it's like, it's not the formula itself is not a secret. And everybody knows it. Everybody's figured it out. I do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern, 3 to 4:30 Pacific. I just, but you're right. You can look at this and, their defensive weaknesses were exposed. The lack of bench power was exposed. The lack of ability, quite frankly, for like a quick player to put the ball on the floor and get a bucket. Their tendency to go on long offensive droughts. And, if you're keeping score at home, the Lakers, it took them 2 minutes to get a bucket in the second quarter. And then they went 6 minutes without a field goal. 6 minutes without a field goal. So
they
2 minutes,
16 points in the second quarter.
2 minutes it took to get a bucket in the second quarter, and then you go another 6 minutes without a field goal, and like you say, you end up with 16 points in the quarter. And Marcus Smart talked about that, like after the game. When that happens, you are putting an enormous amount of pressure on your defense. It's just like because you're never set, you're never playing, you're always playing kind of lopsided. It's an enormous pressure on an already rickety defense, and clearly they couldn't respond.
Yeah, and beyond that, though, I mean, obviously it's problematic when you go those long droughts without scoring. They had 9 total bench points in this game. JJ opted to give Kobe Buffkin a pretty long look, I think, to see,
17
frankly,
minutes.
frankly, to see, can I play Kobe Buffkin instead of Dalton Connect and or Nick Smith Jr.? I think I'm going to give Buffkin a bit of a pass just in the sense that he's barely worked with this group. And you could tell that there were times where I think he looked like he wasn't quite sure what he was supposed to be doing out there. I think it was a mixed bag. But the reason I'm bringing this up is not to pick on Kobe Buffkin. It more speaks to just their inability to land on a bench group that works, particularly when you don't have Austin Reeves, who would push either Marcus Smart or Jake LaRavia to the bench. When you don't have Jackson Hayes, he was unavailable in this game. And Jackson, while not a prolific scorer, he is having a good season. And compared to some of the other options, he's frickin' Wilt Chamberlain. So
you're essentially, when he doesn't play, you're essentially playing without a backup center, because Maxi Kleber is deployed, I think it's fair to say, sort of situationally. And
the situation is, we don't need you to score ever.
Right.
Like, that's the situation.
Against a team like the Hornets, who were, up and down the floor.
Well, but you know what's funny about that, though, really quick, and this speaks to what I was talking about before, exposing Laker weaknesses and being prepared. They got the memo, run on these dudes, because Charlotte's actually not a team that runs. They're bottom 5 for pace. They're bottom 5 for fast break points. Like, they played out of character along those lines. Now, they also played very in character for some other stuff that I want to get into, particularly the three-point shooting, because I didn't like some of JJ's comments afterwards, talking about Charlotte and hot shooting, like almost like this could be just another one of those nights, because no. But Charlotte, they did what they do well, but they also really went out of their way to go at the Lakers for things they don't do well.
Yeah. And I think in that second quarter, particularly, they really took advantage of, those opportunities that are created to push. And I don't mean like you're taking everything up to the rim, like, getting out running, fast break, dunk, like whatever. I just mean pushing, like you get up the floor quickly before the other team can set some sort of advantage and organize their defense in the way that you would want. You get the cross matchups, you get all kinds of stuff that make a team uncomfortable. It's quite frankly, it's what the Lakers were doing in the first quarter. Like, you're going to look at this score. If you just wake up and, like, my guy went to bed after the 13-point lead and said, all is well, I'm going to sleep. If you just look at the box score, the percentages that Charlotte shot and all these other things, you're like, oh my God, this is a collapse. The Lakers they were blown. They got the doors blown off them. They came out with energy. The Lakers did. They came out with good pace. That first quarter they played was one of the better quarters that they've played over the last couple of weeks. They play with purpose, with pace, with energy. I'm not fast break finishes, but they forced some turnovers. They got up the floor and they moved with some urgency on both sides of the ball. And I just, we'll talk about other things that went wrong here, but it is a really bad sign for the Lakers. We haven't talked about Luka Doncic was 15 of 26 in this game. Very efficient night from Luka offensively. 15 of 26, 39 points. LeBron James, very efficient offensively. 10 of 19, 29 points. The Lakers got 68 points from their two stars. They only turned the ball over 9 times. So it's not like they were just throwing the ball all over the darn place. Like, if you get that performance from those two guys and you keep your turnovers down, and at least by the end, they shot a reasonable percentage from 3-point range, to lose by 18 when you do that is distressing to me.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, other than Luka's individual performance, LeBron's individual performance, at least offensively, I mean, both of them had moments in terms of defense where they were part of the problem. I thought Luka in particular, one of the things I want to get into is I thought the Lakers at times really lost their composure with the refs.
Totally.
And non-calls. And so it's clear, we'll get into this, but just setting the foundation for this, I actually think they were justified in a lot of what they were complaining about, but you have to keep playing. And even though some of the calls and non-calls in this game were frankly bizarre, you still have to keep playing. And that is, in terms of exploitable weaknesses of the Lakers, something we have seen a lot.
There is a trend,
season.
though, that's going on in the NBA, across the NBA. The Lakers answered a few questions about it after the game, though, that is related exactly to what you're talking about. And if it holds, it's going to be a problem for the Lakers. We'll break it down next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by DoorDash. The season's heating up. DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through, whether you're watching highlights, the tunnel fits, or your favorite player. DoorDash makes everything that much more fun. And every player, they got their bag, and DoorDash has one too. DoorDash keeps the snacks stocked, the gear fresh, the watch party vibes on point. There's going to be nights when your team stresses you out, like for the Lakers, every other night, every third night, sometimes few games in a row. Let DoorDash become the post-game therapy. Sometimes you need dessert to eat your feelings, like now, like right now. Sometimes you need a lot of cups for many altering post-game beverages or things along those nature. You want to make sure your charger is ready to go and your phone's ready to go, because you're going to be bitching with your friends afterwards for a while. All those things can be delivered through DoorDash. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag. Order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season. No judgment. Delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long.
Do want to remind people about the Everydayer Club. If you are looking for a different experience with the Locked On Lakers podcast, more ways to engage with us, engage with fellow Locked On Lakers listeners and Lakers fans, you can join the Everydayer Club. It's $5 a month, $50 a year. You get access to the Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of the show. It's a place where you can go talk to each other. Again, talk to us. We'll use stuff we get from that Discord server as part of the show. Just another fun way to stay in contact and communicate and talk to everybody and perhaps vent.
We'll put your stuff to the front of the line. We will put the Everydayers' comments to the front of the line in terms of the interactivity that we very much encourage for this show.
And even better, certainly just as better, you get the show presented to you without ads. So an ad-free audio feed, whether you're getting the show through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, however you do it, you will get an ad-free version of the show. Again, Locked On. It's the Everydayer Club. Go to the show notes, or you can find it at lockedonlakers.supercast.com. Check it out. See if it's for you. If it's not, do nothing. Show stays the same. It's funny you mentioned the free throw thing, because the Lakers offense has very much been built on the ability for Luka, especially, and then Austin when he's healthy, to get to the line. And a lot has been made over the last month or so that fouls and free throw attempts are way down. The NBA is clearly across the league made a change in how they are how they're calling games. And it is in part a response to people complaining that, foul merchants were going to the line too much. Games were getting too choppy. Too much was being called. Game's not physical enough. It's too soft, whatever. But the point is, if it holds, the Lakers are going to have to figure out a way to adjust, because one of their typical strategies and strengths is going to be mitigated by a league-wide change in officiating. And currently they are adjusting by complaining about it.
There was a point in the third quarter where Luka drove. There was some contact on a jumper. There was no call. He was unhappy. He began rubbing his head to emphasize that he had been hit and was yelling at the ref. Very slow getting back at all. The Lakers are playing at that point 4-on-5. They can barely defend 5-on-4. And Miles Bridges, who had been super hot the entire night, ends up getting an open corner three. Luka at that point had a tech called. Like there was a series of bizarre off-arm calls and non-calls that kept going against the Lakers. There was a point where Gabe Vincent clearly expected a call on a loose ball foul in the third quarter, didn't get it, led to a transition bucket for Charlotte. JJ was up and yelling at that point. There was a time where Jake LaRavia got an offensive rebound off a Kobe Buffkin driving miss. He got very clearly shoved, and the ball ended up going to Charlotte out of bounds. JJ was really upset at that point. Charlotte scored on the next possession. And again, a lot of what the Lakers were upset tonight. Brian and I are not big criticizing the refs. Like that's not a big part of this show. It's pretty rare when it comes up at all. There were a lot of stuff that I understand where the Lakers were coming from. You got to keep playing through it though. And you can't, there are too many times you see this with Luka, but he's not the only guy on the team, but where they are at times even just putting up shots in a way where you can tell they are expecting the call. Like they're shooting in a way where it's about drawing contact, and they get frustrated when the shot both doesn't go down and they don't get the whistle. They got to just play, man. They got to just play through this stuff.
The reputation of Luka as a guy who complains about officiating is not new. He arrived here with that. He comes from a long line of superstar players who complain to the referees. But I think where the Lakers are running into trouble is just it's that mental thing of like there was one moment where like LaRavia was the only player up the floor because all four Lakers were turned and protesting at the ref. Poor Jake's up at the front. It's like 1-on-5. It looks like, Jon Snow in that famous meme from Game of Thrones, where he's standing there with his sword, like, where are my dudes? But like you have to adjust mentally, and then they have to figure out how they're going to generate points in another way. Because if you continue to kind of bang your head against this, and the games are going to be called differently, inconsistently, no doubt. They're always kind of a little inconsistent. It's almost impossible to call an NBA game totally consistently, given the athletes on the floor. But like, if this is what it's going to be, like you can't fight that. You have to play. I agree with you. And, they are currently, sort of responding like you're saying, by just bitching about it. And that is not going to get it done. And it only makes the problem worse because you get more frustrated and more frustrated and more frustrated.
And if you don't believe us, listen to Marcus Smart, who afterwards acknowledged, instead of getting back, we were talking to the officials a lot. That doesn't help. Like, it just doesn't. It for a team that is already not great in transition defensively, when everyone's locked the F in, like when they're really putting their minds to this, they are a mixed bag at best. You can't put yourself in a position where either your defense is playing shorthanded, you're not mentally engaged because you're making sure you get the last word with the ref. Or like you can't do it. Like you can't do it. Not this team. They can't do it.
Smart said something else that was interesting. We'll get back to the defense here a little bit. Smart said something that was interesting. Like, what do you do in response to it? And Dan Wojcicki at The Athletic was kind of asking a series of questions about this trend in the NBA. And it's been something that's been noticed and written about a lot over the last month or so, to the point that I actually texted Andy about it earlier on Thursday. Like, this is what you get when, all the gambling stuff and this and that and whatever, like, people were complaining too much, and now there aren't enough foul calls, and people are wondering if the games are fixed. So Smart though said that the Lakers just have to start fouling, just foul more. They can't call everything. This is a an approach to defense that a lot of teams take. Very physical.
Thunder,
Really,
Pistons, some of the best teams in the league.
But here's the thing. You've got to be able to get near enough to the opposition to foul them in a way that could plausibly not be a foul. And to do, like, you can be really physical and you can do that. But if you're reaching, or if you're 2 feet away, or if you're late to a spot, or you're shoulder checking, or you're going to get the foul call. Like, Detroit can do it because they are young and athletic and move their feet, and they've got some defenders on that team. And all the Lakers are fighting a reputation for zero defense. They're fighting the athleticism. They're fighting the movement. That type of defensive style, they're going to have to make some changes before they could even do that.
Well, I mean, James Worthy said after the game, and he's spot on, they're just not connected that way.
Ooh.
You know, he said they're just not connected in any way on the defensive end. And if you're going to play that sort of style and get away with it, there's a baseline of how good of a defense you have to look like in order to get the benefit of the doubt from the refs.
You've said it though a lot during the year, like the hope for this team. We talked about, even going back to the summer, was that, like, defensively you could be better than the sum of your parts, and it's been hard to do that because of the lack of continuity, different lineups every day, and all that. I was not trying to make excuses. That makes that style of defense harder to pull off. But I think at this point, they're certainly not better than the sum of their parts. I'm not even sure they're as good as the sum of their parts.
No.
You mentioned some stuff that JJ said. He did have a comment that I thought was really interesting as well. So we'll break down JJ and his perspective on the defense next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season. FanDuel's making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window when special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, whether you're talking about boosts or bonuses or just surprises. Surprise! It's easy. There you go. You look inside the app. Surprise! It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app, see what is dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday night from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
So we'll get to the JJ's comments here in a second, but I saw an interesting question on the YouTube chat as we do the show live, as we generally do after games, asking, like, why, and I scrolled past who asked it, but the question is, like, why are they playing Gabe? Like, why? Is because, like, didn't get a whole lot out of him, and overall he has not been particularly good this year. Vincent was 0 of 7 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3-point range, no points in 15 minutes. They got 9 points from the defense. So Rui, Jared Vanderbilt,
9 points from the bench.
I'm sorry, from the bench. Rui, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, and Kobe Buffkin each played 15 minutes or more off the bench. They got 9 points between the four of them. The Lakers starters played, all of them played over 30 minutes on Thursday night. So the answer to the question is why is Gabe playing, is because someone has to play. Like, then you can't run LeBron any more than he was. And it's like, it's bad enough that you're kind of having to keep his minutes up where they are, despite having played on the second night of a back-to-back a couple days ago when he, I'm sure, wasn't going to.
I mean,
they don't have enough players. They have to. Gabe Vincent has to play.
Well, the answer to why Gabe Vincent is playing, and I mean, to some degree, if you want to give a little bit of grace to JJ and the coaching staff and whatever, he is coming off a good game against the Hawks. Played very well against Atlanta.
He's not been good.
No, he has not been good. But really, the answer to why is Gabe playing, to some degree, is Kobe Buffkin is playing. Like, that's how far into the box of potential answers that they are.
Because you said that, he was playing in part, to see if you could play him instead of Connect. And obviously Dalton didn't get on the floor in this game until garbage time.
And neither did Nick Smith Jr.
Right. But I also think there is a little bit of an element here of auditioning for some of Gabe's minutes.
Sure.
Like, but all of them.
The point being, though, that Kobe Buffkin, who was on a 10-day deal, and I'm happy that he is. I brought up like a week or so before they eventually gave him that 10-day deal that I wouldn't have been surprised if they brought him up, but that they need to bring him up at all, particularly with Austin unavailable and you're getting low on ball handlers. Like, that's the answer to your question. Like, at this point, it's no longer about the perception that I understand that Gabe is the equivalent. He is basically Darvin Ham's Torian Prince or Frank Vogel's Avery Bradley. Like, this is a necessity thing by now. Like, that's what's happening. I get why anybody listening or watching doesn't like it. I'm just saying that's the reason.
Yeah, he can dribble and knows what he's supposed to be doing, and who else is going to play? Your other choice is Bronny. Do you want Bronny playing 18 minutes a game? Well, the royal you in the chat room or beyond, probably doesn't. I am a big fan of Bronny's development. I am encouraged. I think he's continuing to play well in the G League. If Bronny is playing 18 minutes a night for this team, bad things are happening. So let me tell you what I thought was interesting from Redick that I think was something that I think does speak to some of the problems the Lakers are having defensively. He talked about how the Lakers, part of the reason that they're giving up a lot of threes with space is because they are afraid of getting tight on opposing ball handlers and opposing players because they're worried about the blow by. They're worried they can't stay in front of them. By the way, with cause. And so they get stuck in this kind of no man's land where you need to, you feel like you need to give somebody a little, an extra 6 inches, an extra 8 inches of space, an extra foot, which is in the NBA is a mile, because you can't stay in front of them off the dribble. And therefore you're giving up far easier perimeter shots. So it's a phenomenon that I think is pretty spot on. I think he described it basically as they're sort of afraid of ball pressure, putting it on. It's hard to argue with him, and it's not a good trend.
Nope. There is a reservation, I think, a lot of time. I mean, there are times when the problem, I think, is a lack of focus, a lack of attentiveness, a lack of just willingness to get your ass back as the first step of trying to handle for certain things. Or I've complained about this the entire time in the JJ Redick era. I think they switch both too automatically and way too passively. And, that all these different things come together to create bad defense. JJ said he thought their low man tonight was awful. And it didn't sound like he meant specifically DeAndre Ayton.
No, it's whoever he means. Right. Whoever is positioned in that spot based on like whoever's the low man has certain rotational responsibility.
Exactly. Just to clarify, because I saw some reaction that felt like JJ subtweeting Ayton.
It can be Ayton,
right?
But it often is,
right?
It doesn't have to be,
right? Exactly. One of the things though that caught my ear from JJ post game that I really did not like at all was in talking about the Hornets and their shooting tonight from distance. They were just burying the Lakers, 47%, 20 of 43. A lot of these shots I thought were not well contested at all. They had a very easy time setting these up. They got a lot of them off second chance opportunities. They crushed the Lakers on the glass. Despite not having a ton of misses, they managed to get a lot of offensive rebounds, scramble the Laker defense.
Yeah, but particularly in the second half, like that's like LaMelo Ball, who had 27 points in the second half, 3 at halftime. It's 27 in the second half. Got a lot of second chance opportunities.
And this is obviously not the first time we've seen a team bury the Lakers from behind the arc. And JJ, in talking about this, part of what he said was, quote, another team that has a hot shooting night. I'm calling BS with that, man. Like, I'm completely calling BS. The Hornets for this season are 5th in the league for three-point percentage. Over the last 15 games, they are shooting 41% as a team. Miles Bridges, who hit 5 threes in this game in January, 7 games. I don't know if that includes tonight, but he's shooting 40% from behind the arc. Melo in December and January combined is shooting about 42% from behind the arc on about 9 threes a game. We know Con Knipple can shoot. That's one of the reasons he is a surprise front runner or among the front runners for Rookie of the Year. That's what this team does. Like, this is not a hot shooting night. This is Charlotte being Charlotte. This is what they do. It's one of the things they're actually really good at. And this was actually, I think, the Lakers allowing Charlotte to do something they do really well, even better, because they were so bad guarding the three-point line. And I don't like hearing that, especially because it's not the first time we've heard JJ say this, talking about it, expected, make rate and expected luck, yada, yada, yada. Charlotte's good at this. And they allowed Charlotte to be even better than a thing that they're good at. I didn't like that. I did not like hearing that at all.
I didn't quite, I don't disagree with what you're saying. And the Lakers need to avoid that kind of it's not us. It's just, the ebbs and flows of
everybody gets up for the Lakers, which is,
there is a certain truth to luck, essentially. Like, certain times, there are some nights where teams hit shots that they shouldn't. There's some nights that teams don't hit shots that they should. And, luck actually over the 10-game stretch really can have an impact on your defense or your offense or things like that. And so, like, I didn't totally read it the same way. And he certainly was plenty critical of sort of what they were doing. I think when he was talking about them being afraid to pressure the ball, that's kind of what he's getting at. He's talking about those shortcomings, and they're, part of the reason the teams find themselves able to take and get themselves into a rhythm is because they don't have any confidence to stay in front of the opposition. I'll be honest with you. Smarter people than me are responsible for figuring this stuff out, but I think it's fair to say at this point, there is no sort of easy lever to pull for fixing the defense. There isn't. I'm not saying you were suggesting that. To me, the easiest prescription for trying to make them a little more stable on defense is to avoid what happened in the second quarter, where they go 2 minutes without scoring to begin the quarter and 6 minutes without a field goal. I'm just talking about in sort of looking ahead, what can they do next? They got 4 really tough games coming up and then a long road trip, even against mediocre teams. You're out on the road for a long time. There's nothing easy about it. I think they can fix the offense or make the offense better. I don't know how much defense they can fix.
You are correct that this is a team. We've talked about this a lot. Their defense is often dictated by their offense because that at least allows themselves theoretically the best chance to try to get set and be the best version of a flawed defense they can be. That being said, though, teams are running off makes against them as well. You're not wrong in what you're saying. I'm just saying it has to go beyond that.
100%.
And my annoyance with JJ there, like I said, but just to reiterate it, it's not simply the comment tonight in a vacuum. It's not the first time we've heard a version of that. And against this particular team, I'm just like, what do you mean a hot shooting team? Like, they've been hot. This is what they do. Were they higher than did they shoot, 47%? Yes. It's higher than 41% over the last 15 games, but 41% is pretty damn good. Like, you'd be leading the
No,
league.
they're a good shooting team.
Right. So it's like, no, like, to me, that feels in some ways, even though I know JJ was plenty critical of the defense, it feels in some ways like throwing your hands up, whether that's throwing your hands up to cover for the team or to cover for the staff, cover for yourself, whatever. It just rubbed me wrong.
Fair enough. Lakers traveling to Portland, a Portland team that is very quickly and very quietly getting healthy. Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday both back in their lineup. So that's not going to be an easy game Saturday night in Portland. We, of course, will be back after that one is over. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you hang out. Over 37,000 subscribers. Do check out that Everydayer Club link to see if the Discord chat is for you, and we'll see everybody after the game.